Consistency is the superpower that no one wants to talk about. And that's because it's hard and it never gets easier. My name is Seth, I'm a full-time fantasy author, and I like to make YouTube videos. Hopefully, you like to watch them. I had a wild experience this past week. For some context, I just recently finished a book, and what that means for me is a 50 to 60,000 word week. Because at the end of a book, as I approach the end of a book, I tend to get really excited about it, and I tend to push as hard and fast as possible to write as much as possible. I really like to be in that flow state, and so it helps me as I'm finishing out a story to just completely immerse myself in it. I cancel literally everything, and I just write as much as possible. And then, because I am me, I decided it would be a good idea to start my next book immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean immediately. I don't write on Sundays, but on Saturday night, I finished the book that I was working on, and then on Monday morning, I fired up my computer, ready to go. This was another story that I was very excited about. I still am very excited about it. I love where it's going. I love the characters. I really enjoy spending time in the world. But that Monday, when I fired it up, I just felt like I didn't have any gas in the tank. I just sort of stalled out. And I would stare at my screen for a little while, and I'd write a few lines, and then I'd think of something, and I'd get up and I'd go and do it. In the book, The War of Art, the author talks a lot about this invisible force called resistance. And resistance is the thing that's sort of pushing us back and is constantly trying to keep us from writing. And honestly, resistance was really high this past week. And so on Monday, I wrote a little bit, and I mostly was distracted. And then Tuesday came around, and it was worse. And I tried to sit down and write, and I would write a few lines, and I'd get up and I'd go do something else. And then Wednesday came, and it was even worse. And then on Thursday, I decided, you know what, forget this. I'm just going to go to the zoo with my kids. And I had a great time, but I got no work done. And then on Friday, I didn't even try. I literally woke up, turned my computer on, looked at it for 3 minutes, turned it back off, and went inside to play a video game. That's how my week went. And then on Saturday, as I normally do, I opened up my writing tracker to look at what had happened. And I had this idea in my head, and I was like, man, I just wasted an entire week. I am now a week behind my schedule. And I looked at it, and this is where that weird experience happened. I realized that in this past week of doing nothing, I had written 10,000 words. And that's a lot of words. It sort of gave me a flashback because I remembered the first time I hit 10,000 words in a week. For the first 2 years of being a writer, 10,000 words in 1 week was more than I could do. And now I'm sitting on the other side of it, thinking to myself, I didn't get anything done this week, except I wrote 10,000 words. And that shift right there, that change from thinking of 10,000 words as a giant, monumentous thing to not even remembering writing the 10,000 words over the course of a week, that is the result of consistency. And that's what makes it a superpower. This is the power of consistency. It does 3 really important things for you. The first is it gives you a change in perspective. What was once insurmountable, all of a sudden becomes reachable. When we think about climbing up a mountain, we don't typically think about each individual step that we're going to have to take in order to get from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. But if your feet are what you're relying on to carry you up the mountain, then it's consistency that gets you there. If you just stop walking, guess what? You're not going up the mountain. But if you keep walking, then eventually, even though it might take a long time, even though you might feel the pain and suffering of having to do the climb, you will get to the top. Consistency turns those mountains in our life into something scalable. But more than that, it makes what was once occasional a given. And again, this is what I experienced this past week, and this is when the light bulb just went off in my head. Because it used to be that occasionally I could write 10,000 words. It used to be that I couldn't do that regularly because it was so hard. And now I didn't even realize that I did it. It was just so natural for me because of the consistency, because of the work that I've put in over time, that it just happened. And that leads us to our second thing that consistency does for us. It changes our attitude. It acts as a marker in our path towards success. It acts as a signpost telling us that we're going in the right direction. Confidence is built through repetition. And so if we're going to repeat an action over and over and over and over again until it becomes natural for us, we are naturally going to increase our confidence. I've talked about before that confidence is really our ability to understand that we will be able to solve a problem. So when I sit down to write now, I do so confidently because I know I'm going to be able to solve whatever problem is coming. And consistency is really the thing that allows me to have that confidence because I've solved those problems over and over and over again. In fact, my confidence has increased because this past week I thought I didn't do anything. And guess what? I did something. In fact, I did quite a bit of something. Consistency also allows us to take our bad days in stride. On Wednesday, when I had a bad day and I didn't write that much, I was able to say, okay, it's a bad day. On Thursday, when the opportunity to go to the zoo came up and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm probably just going to be wasting today anyways, so why not do it? I was able to take it in stride. On Friday, when I got up and I looked at my computer screen and I knew what the outcome was going to be, I was able to just say, all right, I guess not today. But the key in all of this is consistency. It's the ability to come back the next day and try again. And because I have that record of consistency, I know that every day I'm just going to try again. I'm going to get up and I'm going to get on my computer and I'm going to try to write. And if I miss a day or if a week doesn't go the way I had planned, that's okay. I'll just try again. And finally, consistency creates outcomes. Doing the work is what creates the opportunity. And if we don't do the work, then the opportunity is not going to be created. A lot of times we have this idea that opportunity just sort of appears out of thin air, but that's not true. And it's never been true. Opportunity comes when we put ourselves in opportunity's path. And the best way to do that is by being consistent. It's by showing up. It's by doing the work. In a lot of ways, being consistent is what allows you to step out of the place you are and into the new world where you want to be. And all of this put together is why it's so absolutely vital that you create a consistent writing habit if you want to be an author. Getting words in every day, even if it's just a few, is going to help you build a new standard. It's going to constantly increase your skill ceiling, and it's going to allow you to get to that new level. In a lot of ways, it's like laying bricks in a wall. The more rows of bricks you lay, the higher the ceiling is going to be. That's it for today. But if this was helpful to you at all, definitely give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below letting me know what you are going to do consistently in order to improve your own life.